I've heard a few Cowboy fans saying they think or they want one of these dudes to push Gallup down the list and break the rank. Are they legitimate contenders to do that?
No.
Yeah.
And I'll qualify it as such. When you're talking about Michael Gallup, you're still talking about a former 1,000-yard receiver who last season was returning from a torn ACL, and he didn't return in December where he would have had more time to rehab and recover and get back to his dominant ways. He returned after about 4 games, and it took a while for him. He had up and down, so he had a flash and then not so much, and then he'd have a flash and then not so much, and then you look at what he was able to do against the Rams in Los Angeles, for example. That play that we're talking about, that sideline twinkle toes play. See, that tells me that the real Michael Gallup is still in there.
You in there?
He's in there. He might need a little bit more time, or at that point might have needed a little bit more time to kind of get back to prime form. And he and I had plenty of conversations over the course of last season. And at a certain point, I dare say as early as maybe early November, it really was not a physical thing with Michael Gallup at all. It was 100%, or at least 99.999% a mental thing with him. He was just not playing Gallup football because he was afraid that he would make the wrong move, make the wrong cut. He'd come down the wrong way, and then he re-tears the ACL. Keep in mind, that was the first major injury of his entire football career. So when you suffer something like that, it takes a while mentally to come back from that, no matter who you are. But he's not OBJ in the capacity of he's not been through that before.
Yeah.
So he didn't necessarily know how to get over that hump mentally. So I believe the prime Michael Gallup is still there. He looked great in OTAs. He looked great in minicamp. Of course, yes, they were in shorts. Things are going to fire up when they put the pads on here in a couple of weeks in Oxnard. But I think rumors of Michael Gallup's demise are greatly exaggerated. Now, does that mean that Simi Fehoko and Jalen Tolbert don't have enough, or don't have the juice or the potential to push the needle? Yes, they both do. But right now, it's not Simi Fehoko and Jalen Tolbert versus Michael Gallup.
Mm-hmm.
It's Simi Fehoko versus Jalen Tolbert, and it's Michael Gallup versus Michael Gallup. I think that's the better way to look at it, because as long as Michael Gallup wins against himself mentally, in his, what I believe is going to be his real return from a torn ACL, then you'll see the 1,000-yard receiver take note again, especially with Brandon Cooks on the field, CeeDee Lamb now operating in that WR1 role. But when it comes to Jalen Tolbert and Simi Fehoko, I don't think that they should place their bullseye on Michael Gallup. I think that's a bit too ambitious when you look at both of their histories in the NFL. Jalen Tolbert coming off of what everyone, including himself, has labeled a disappointing rookie season, where he could barely get on the field, let alone he could barely get on the active game day roster, let alone on the field. And then you look at Simi Fehoko, who was the dominant wide receiver in last year's training camp. He has a lot of history with both Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott, but injury kind of derailed that season. So he's trying to show that he can be the definitive WR4 in 2023, and that's the role that Jalen Tolbert is trying to get as well. But to say that those two will push Michael Gallup out of WR3,
yeah,
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Thanks for watching, and make sure to follow and subscribe to A to Z Dallas so you don't miss an episode of The Scientific Method every Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Central on Facebook and YouTube, with every episode available on A to Z Sports.com.